Hi there, folks. My name's Dovetail 24, and welcome to a new little segment that we're going to be trialing here just for something. It's a very important weekend in flight simulation, so we're going to get started. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Three Grumpy Flight Simmers. I am joined here today, and yes, literally, we figured this title out 5 minutes ago, and we all love it. Anyway, so I am joined here today, of course, by Sergio Costa. So Sergio comes to us from helisimmer.com.
Guys, how are you?
And of course, we are joined by the most infamous of YouTubers that I am proud to call a friend of mine, Bel Geode, because it wouldn't be a flight simulation video without Bel Geode and his hat.
Especially these hats,
What can
yeah.
I say? What can I say?
It's the hat. It
Hello,
really is.
everyone.
It's
Um,
yeah,
so yes, so obviously, folks, we are here today because something very special happened over the weekend or over the week just gone, and that, of course, is the first sort of new simulator that we've seen in quite a few years. So we're going to here today. We're going to be talking about a few things that we've our first impressions of what it is and gone through from there. Of course, I'm talking about Dovetail Games Flight Sim World. Now I'm actually gonna throw Sergio on the spot here to sort of to start with because he's made a couple of observations which I found interesting. Because Sergio, I know you're a coder and sort of you do a bit of coding as well. So
yeah,
what's your first thoughts having had a look at it now for a couple of days?
yeah. I'm a coder. I've been a programmer for nearly 20 years, so I have a lot of experience and background in software development. And from what I've seen from FSW, they have done quite a remarkable job in such a short time. Actually, having old code from other guys from other teams developed and work all on top of it, it's really hard. And everybody's complaining that. FSW looks too much like FSX, but what were you expecting? I wasn't expecting anything different or anything else from it. For them to just change the code, change it to 64 bits, and do all the small graphical updates that we have seen on the flight simulator, it's been quite an enormous task. It's been I can't even start to imagine the amount of work those guys had. So, guys, we're having pretty much a great job coming from Dovetail Games right now.
But I guess that's the thing, isn't it? I come from sort of like the inverse background. Yeah, I don't. Well, I've got my coding knowledge started and stopped with one semester at university where I went, yeah, JavaScripting is not for me. So I don't get it, but it's something for me that even the idea of recompiling something to go between 32-bit and 64-bit and even reusing somebody else's code is fraught with danger. So for them to have something that's even
Yeah.
functional, I think is an impressive achievement. That, of course, is always balanced by the fact that we have a lot of people sort of saying, oh, but why didn't they make a flight simulator from the ground up? Um, what did what are your guys' thoughts on that path? I mean, that would be a pretty daunting undertaking, just from what I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the thing of it. Yeah. I mean, one thing that we need to remember is they are basically a relative newcomer to the whole flight sim industry. I mean, granted, they've got the train sim world that, is their baby from however long ago.
Hmm.
But especially last year when we went to Flight SimCon and we actually had the chance to speak to Stephen Hood. Actually, I spoke to him in the van on the way to dinner. He admitted that prior to, all of this stuff, he never even thought about the concept of doing a flight simulator. This is like a completely new world that he had to initiate himself into.
Hmm.
And, granted, he jumped into the deep end and, we're seeing the results now. There's still a lot of work to do, but you got to give the man some props. He
Hmm.
came from a relative nothing to bringing this about the early access. And yeah, it's got a lot of work, but that's a pretty high achievement for someone who had no idea.
yeah, starting is so people need to understand that doing whatever piece of software is hard. Doing a game is harder. Doing a simulator is nightmare. Okay, and starting every developer, I think that every developer, whenever gets into a project, he starts to think about what if I redo this? What if I do this from scratch? What if I do this in a way that I know it's better and probably faster to develop? The thing is, it's never going to be faster. Okay, developing software from scratch, it's going to take you a lot of time. And Dovetail Games could have either get the license from Microsoft like they did and start working on something that was already working, or starting something from scratch. And right now, they would have a big chunk of pretty much nothing. It would take them maybe another 2 or 3 years just to have something that was, that even resembled what what FSX would be at this time, or would be at the time that was last released. So starting something from scratch, it's a big no-no. And I can tell you from experience that even with all the nightmare that would be getting someone else's code, and I've been there, I've been working over someone else's code and on smaller, way smaller projects, and it's really not easy to first of all understand the code, and second of all do any changes. And like you said, even recompiling software using new libraries like Dovetail Games has done with FXS when they released FSX Team, just doing that, it's prone to cause a lot of issues and a lot of problems, and they had a lot of stuff they have to solve, just by changing libraries. I'm not even mentioning making it 64 bits, or starting to correct some issues or bugs, or starting to add some features. I'm not even touching that. I'm just talking about using
just the sheer basics, just the sheer basics of
just to make it work, it's
I think that's something that a lot of people seem to forget, is that the Dovetail Games picked up on a piece of software that had not been touched by its actual official developers in 8 years. And in that time, we've had 3 generations of Windows-based operating systems, and moving it to a state where it could run off that stably straight out of the box. I mean, that's an achievement in and of itself. The other thing that I think a lot of people seem to forget is the fact that, Microsoft's flight simulator technology was built and funded, more importantly, by Microsoft. Now, the amount of money reserves that Bill Gates threw at it, because it was a passion of Bill Gates, was the flight simulator. So it was like he was willing to throw money at it. And, and I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here because, for a lot of people who know me and have known me for a number of years know that I'm very passionate about the last iteration, which was Microsoft Flight. And that was badly managed because it didn't have the corporate and the financial drive that Microsoft gave Flight Simulator, 2 through 10, and that's fundamentally one of the reasons why Microsoft Flight failed. So I think that we need to make sure that we as community and as people from the community, hold Dovetail accountable, absolutely, for what they're doing and what they're developing, but at the same time, don't go down the path of going, oh well, it's 10 years after the last one, so I expect to have everything that every third-party developer's ever made out of the box. Sorry, that's not going to fly for anybody.
Yeah, they've got to cut them a lot of slack when it comes to that, because number one, it's definitely not an fast fake code that old. Optimize it and bring it into the 21st century, so to speak. You think about the whole concept behind FSX Steam, and how long it actually took them to get it to the point where it is right now, where it's stable. I haven't had any kind of out of memory errors at all. So it took them time to actually evolve that particular platform to where it is right now. And during the process, of course, they're learning, what the code can do, what potential it has, in order for them to take it to where it is now with Flights of the World. So personally, I think it's a really monumental achievement. It doesn't absolve them of the fact that they still got a ways to go, But
But
as
yeah,
far
but
as
yeah,
where we are right now, it's worth.
absolutely, and I think that's the key point is that people need to remember that we are not. We're getting into a look. I'm going to say a very early beta, almost a late alpha. Of Flight Sim World, I
Yeah.
think is where we've come in.
Yeah.
Would you
I would call
would
it
you
an
guys
alpha,
agree with
yeah.
that? Yeah, an alpha.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
Bell,
an alpha. Yeah,
would
yeah,
you agree with
definitely.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly where it is right now. And I have a lot of background beta and alpha testing games of various different genres, not just like flight simulation and whatnot. So
Mm.
yeah, this is where we are right now. Make no bones
So
about it. It's
yeah,
not a finished product.
so we're coming in at a late alpha, early beta sort of period time of software development of a simulator that of a developer that is still finding their feet. They've proven that they've got the commitment, and I think that's something that we need to
Yeah.
really appreciate the fact that we've got a developer that is proven to commit to their franchises. I mean, this is only their third major franchise, so they've got the ability, but they've proven that they're committed to it. So I think we need to take a step back and remember that when we're getting involved in Flight Sim World, and as a community that we participate in it and we look towards it, that we're not being what, and unfortunately it seems to, but I noticed that even when the first announcement came out, we'd seen no footage from it. We'd seen nothing more than simply a few words on a bit of paper saying we are going to release this sometime in the next 4 weeks. And already there were people on AvSim, on FlightSim.com, all preaching in Facebook going, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever. It's going to be horrible. Oh, it's the death. It's the death of everything." I'm like, seriously, guys, we haven't even got like our hands on it yet. What the hell? And that disturbed me about our community. It did. Does.
Yeah.
Well, it was the same
You know,
thing yesterday too. I mean, when everything went live yesterday, I was at work because obviously time zone differences and everything.
Mm.
And just in the 4 hours that I was still at work, watching what's been going on online, I'm seeing so much hate. I'm like, you haven't even given it a shot. You've been in there once, you've checked out,
Yes,
what
exactly.
the controls are,
Exactly.
and you're already poo-pooing on the entire thing. Seriously?
yeah. I think I have this crazy theory that people, we let's be, it's not a matter of being honest. We all know this. We spend a lot of money on this hobby, right? We do.
Exactly.
We spend a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have this this needs to be validated. So I need for my sim to be the best sim out there, and if there's any other sim coming, I think that's
It's
the
so
truth.
true. It's so true though.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah,
I
I'm
need
not-
my money. I need to know that my money was well spent, and there's
Right.
no other flight simulator coming on the market that's going to ruin this and tell me you have just blown $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 on something that's not the best on the market. But it is the best on the market. If it's working for you, I've said this before a lot of times. If your simulator, if the sim that you're using is the one that gives you everything you need, you have the best sim on the market. Be it FXX, prepared, whatever. If you take from your sim whatever you need from a sim, it's the best sim on the market, period. Not for me, maybe not for me, maybe not for you, but for that guy, for that particular guy, it's the
Right.
best sim.
Highly
Oh,
subjective.
that is so true. That is so true. It is something that I've really come across is that simulation is such a unique experience because okay. So to take myself, I mean, I love my low and slow GA. I love my low and slow GA. Sergio, I know you love your helicopters. Like you feel that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Kind of obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Belle, you're kind of everything. You're the one that you're kind of all jealous of because you enjoy everything. So
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
is
Well, I've always been that way. I try to find the good in everything. And yeah, as Sergio was saying, there, for me at least, there is no one simulator that fits all of my needs. I mean, I love military aircraft. I come from a military type family. So, that's just part and parcel. Helicopters has always been a huge passion of mine. And ever since I got into like X-Plane, that's been the go-to. But things like FSX and now FSW, I can get my GA fix. As soon as I figure out how to get Dino Cattanio's Tomcat into FS World, that's another thing.
that's very true. It's very,
Yeah,
but that's the point is that it's all so individual, and
Yeah.
And Sergio, I really appreciate what you were saying there. Is that what works for you, what works for Bel, what works for myself, isn't necessarily going to be what works for everybody watching this. And
Yeah.
yeah, there is going to be something different for everybody. Is what makes their experience their experience. So yeah, just seeing all these people sort of just going off and not giving it a chance, I think is really what I'm saying here. Now, I think we've all sort of established that one, that we all sort of agree that one. Of course, let's now talk about the fact that okay, it is a beta, early access. Let's talk about the things that we have issues with at the moment. I'm gonna Bel, I'm gonna start with you. What have been your top 3 problems so far in your Flight Sim World experience? I'm curious.
Okay. Well, they fixed the trees, so I can't really complain about it.
I swear we got
That was
better
a big
trees
thing in flight
we
school.
got better trees in flight school because of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me and Tristan are considering about doing a tree simulator just for you. So yeah.
Oh wait,
Perfect.
wait!
Yeah.
I can wait.
There
Can
we're
I
good.
sell that as
I
like
love
as like an add-on for Goat Simulator? Sorry.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah, I
Oh.
could see that. I could see that.
Mm.
But I guess right now, 3 of my biggest things that I have issue with. The ATC still needs a lot of work. I know they put a lot of time, effort, and energy into recording all the various words and everything, but to me, it feels like they kind of took a step backwards on that. And we already have X-Plane where ATC is not fully fleshed out. So, there's that. But again, P3D is using the default FSX ATC. There was nothing wrong with that. There really wasn't. If they were planning on upgrading it, they could have added to it, but not replace it altogether. So that's one thing. The second thing is more of, I guess, a graphical preference for me. I want to see, things, I guess, toned down a little bit graphically, which honestly is probably an easy fix for them as far as the graphics engine goes. Like one thing that I noticed yesterday, everything was horrendously bright. I'm looking at asphalt and it's white. When have you ever seen asphalt looking white? So the little color
Yeah.
corrections, the tweaks, and so on, maybe reducing the exposure, that sort of thing. I think that'll go a long way to making it feel a little bit more "quote unquote" realistic. I know we throw that term around often. And then, of course, the
yes.
other thing is the major thing, which obviously I don't expect that to be there day one, and that is the lack of aircraft that we're really looking for. I mean, I understand why they did it the way they did, where it's only GA, but as I said before, I'm a helicopter guy, I'm a military aviation guy. I can't wait for all of that to be implemented. Until it is, I can't see myself utilizing the platform as often as I would really like. I mean, ultimately, I want to retire FSX for this. Totally. So
Yep.
that's what
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, fairly valid. Sergio, yourself? Wait. Can I guess the first one? Helicopters. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, that's
stereotyping there.
no,
I'm
that-
sorry.
that-
I'm
that's-
sorry.
Yeah, that's actually the first, the second, and the third one. There's no helicopters. But there's a good reason for that, and I'm not even including this on the list. I'm actually not including this on the list. And I know some guys ask me, you are a helicopter guy, you fly helicopters all the time, and you're not complaining about not having any helicopters on FSW. And actually, Steve answered this on the Flight SimCon last year when actually Bel Geode, that guy with the purple hat there, asked about it, and they mentioned some guy that was nagging Steve all the time about helicopters. Have no clue who that may be. I think, yeah, I have no clue, no idea.
Epic moment.
Can't imagine who that was. No idea, no.
I was watching the video and I was like, oh, okay.
Seriously though, you should have seen the look on his face when I asked that. He just kind of stared at me like, "Oh, well, I know who put him up to this."
Maybe you thought you were me, so yeah, you were in the danger zone right now. So I'm not even going to complain about lack of helicopters because like Bell said, there's a reason for them not to include a lot of aircraft right now, and the reason is that they are taking baby steps. Right, so they are doing general aircraft, and then they're going to move upwards from there. And I have to tell you that I was kind of surprised that a multi-engine aircraft was added for on the release, because I wasn't quite expecting that. Although flight school already had a dual-engine aircraft, so we need to understand that they are working this from the bottom up. And what this means for helicopters is that we're not going to see helicopters for a long time, for a long time. I would say that helicopters is probably going to be the last type of aircraft that they are going to even touch or look at, because it's the physics and everything behind it. It's so damn hard to do. It's so damn hard to simulate, and not even DCES does it perfectly. So they have a lot of work that they need to do, and they are well aware of this. They know they're the first ones to say that helicopters flight dynamics sucks, and so they didn't even want to include the default FXX engine because that's pretty bad, and they didn't want it to have that experience. So that being said, helicopter is not on this list, but I have to agree with the Bell here about the graphics. It's all too bright, too shiny, too white, too whatever. It hurts my eyes, just to watch. But it's something that they can tweak easily for sure. I don't have a lot of complaints. I understand what the product is. I understand this is something that they gave us for us to give it a try and to give some feedback. And my biggest complaint right now would probably be the fact that, and I've seen a lot of people complain about this, you are unable to change aircraft or to change airfield while in the sim. So you need to exit the flight that you were doing and redo all that stuff again. And my second biggest complaint would be maybe that you cannot, when you start a new flight and exit that flight, whenever you start a new one, all those settings, all the stuff that you have chosen, the aircraft, the airport, the weather is not there. You have to choose them all again. So that's kind of annoying because whenever I'm this kind of guy that at least I always take off from the same airport. I have no interest, at least right now, to check any other airports because I already know what's there. It's default FSX, so no surprise there, guys. There are a few airfields that they added, but other than that, it's default FSX. Sorry, guys, that's what we are having. I like to start on the same airfield and not have to choose, weather and airfield and blah blah blah. I don't want to do this. I want it to be there safe for me. And whenever I enter FSW, I just click a button and start. So that's two, right? And number three is I don't know. The community.
That's
Yeah, we
that's
could go all
dangerous.
day on
That's
that
we
one.
go on that one. Okay,
Yeah,
think,
no, it's
I
just
think we covered that one.
Nighttime. Nighttime. That's a concern. Nighttime.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, yeah, I was gonna say for my three, my biggest one is one actually that is a holdover from flight school. That I pointed out very early on in flight school's release, and we never saw updated, and I was hoping we would see an update here. Is simply the lighting. So the fact that there is no night lighting, it's basically a black mass with, you see the pinpoints of light, and on your aircraft you've got these beautiful landing lights that you can tell just illuminate an entire runway, but they don't. Like, there is no lighting happening anywhere. There's no dynamic lighting, which is really frustrating watching the dynamic shadows on the aircraft and in the cockpit. So I can see there is a lighting model somewhere buried in there which is looking outstanding. It just hasn't seemed to make it to the part where lighting is really, really important. So that's my biggest one that I've got, and was very disappointed it didn't come across there. It didn't come across release, but hopefully we better see that one soon, because that will be a deal breaker for a lot of people. But otherwise, for me, the other one is, again, exactly as you guys said, is the fact that everything's bright. There's no way for me to adjust that, and I know they've sort of said with flight school they went for a specific look, but this is now the evolution of that, where we need to give back control of that kind of look back to us as the virtual aviators. So yeah, I'd actually like to see it a bit more toned down a bit. I'd like to see it toned down a bit, and just being able, or even just being able to manipulate those settings a lot more.
Hmm.
And the last one sort of ties into what you were saying, Sergio, as well. Is I just want to see airports that got demolished between 2005 and now, and airports that have started and opened since between 2005 and now. I'd actually like to see them in the sim. Some of the data's been updated, but there's a lot of data that hasn't been updated yet. So I feel that that's one of the few points where I've seen the haters, where I hate to admit it, but I will back them on that one.
Yeah.
I really don't like the idea of flying with data. Like, now I know, having dug around inside the folder structure and then looked at a few things, and it's amazing what you can learn from the credits list. It's amazing what you can learn from it. That there is updated data in there, that we do have some updated data in there, absolutely, but not enough. We're still running with the majority of the data in there, the vector data, the airport ICAO data, and a lot of the airway data. That's all still dating back to 2004, 2005. So they're my sort of three issues. But the biggest one's the lighting for me. Is the lack of night lighting is just disturbing. It
Hmm.
really is. So, but I think, would we
Yeah,
all
that was
agree that,
really interesting
yeah.
yesterday coming into Aspen with absolutely zero lighting whatsoever.
I saw that. You're just like, okay, where the hell is the ground in this thing? That's right. Yeah. So
It's
I
down.
think I actually landed in between the runway and the taxiway. I'm seeing blue lights to my left and white lights to the right. Like, okay, well, this will do. Let's just try to stop now.
So, I think, guys, I think we can all agree that this is a great start,
Yeah,
but it has a long way to go. So I
yeah,
think
it does. It does. It does.
I think what we
Yeah,
might do is, let's do it. Let's do around the table. We'll get everybody's final thoughts, because we've probably annoyed our viewers enough by now, and or actually, I can feel the hate coming through the comments already. I really can. Anyway, um, so let the hate flow through you. Anyway, Sergio, thoughts,
yeah.
final thoughts for where
Final
we're at, where
thoughts.
we're
Yeah,
going.
yeah. I have to make I have to make a comparison with the obvious other sim that's on the market, and that a lot of people use as a comparison for FSW, which is prepared P3D, right? So it's based on pretty much the same software base as FSW is. It's not exactly FSX, but it's ESP, which is a professional version of FSX, if you remember correctly. And the thing is, people are just comparing P3D as it is right now with FSW and saying Dovetail Games sucks, because Dovetail Games hasn't even come close to what P3D is right now. But you need to remember two things. First of all, they haven't started with FSX, they started with ESP, which is a completely different piece of software, even if it was based on the same software as FSX was at the time. And guys, Dovetail Games, Lockheed Martin, okay? Not a lot of money, a
Yep.
huge amount of money.
Mm.
Okay, that's just for starters. Okay, one of the one of the companies has money, and the other company has money. Okay, so that's a huge difference. That's a
Mhm.
huge difference. And then people are going to hate me for this, because I don't really know. But P3D has been out there for how long? For 6 years, maybe 5. I don't know.
Version one's been out for at least 5. It'd be pushing
Okay.
6 years, yeah.
Okay, so we have a piece of software developed by a company that has a lot of money over the last 5 years, against some guys that don't have that amount of money in about a year and a half.
Mm.
Are you really trying to compare these two pieces of software and saying that FSW should be at the same level that P3D? really don't think so. I really don't think so. So
Especially
right
when
now,
it's early access. It's still early access.
Yeah.
yeah, it's really
Just the
yeah,
name
yeah, yeah.
itself tells you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's early access. So, but even if it was final, and well, if it was final, we would probably wouldn't be uh, so gentle with them. But even if it was something that they would be calling final, that would be a huge achievement for them on, for something they have done for a year and a half. But they would not release something like this in such short time. So, guys, there's no comparison that you cannot you really cannot compare FSW with any other sim out there right now. They have years and years of development. Pre-3D has been in development for 5 years. Explain has been under development for I don't know. And any other sim out there has been under development for a lot of time. Even DCS has been under development since Flanker or something. So that's also 15 plus years or 20 plus years. So you cannot compare FSW with any other sim out there. They have done an astonishing job. I am really happy that they have grabbed FSX and they're trying to do what they're trying to do. Steve, on FS conference last year, the video that we mentioned before, where Bel asked him about helicopters, it reassured me. I had a lot of doubts, and when I saw that video, I was sure that they are trying to do the best possible for the community and for the flight simulator. So, guys, yeah, it's FSX, it's early access, it's out there, and it's now up to us to provide good. And I'm not going to say positive feedback, but constructive feedback.
Yep,
We need to be
right.
constructive about. Yeah, we need to be constructive about this. We cannot just step up and say this sucks. We need to say this sucks because it should have this and that.
we need to explain why there are issues with it and what those issues are, and
Yeah,
and that's
and how they
and take the
could
responsibility.
improve.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's my final thoughts on the subject.
Cool. Bel, your thoughts?
And actually, just to go a little bit further on what Sergio was saying there, that actually brings to mind a very good point. I am not 100% certain what the feedback process is. I mean, especially, with most of us being like YouTube type people and whatnot, are we expected to use that as our platform to give feedback? Is there like an official feedback form? Dovetail needs to be a little bit more forthcoming with how the community needs to get back to them. Because if they just leave it to social media, Facebook will murder them. Steam will murder them.
Yes.
You'll have 5 billion comments of nothing but hate, and maybe one comment in the middle of it that's like, hey, perhaps you could turn down the exposure settings on the lighting during the daytime and then raise the exposure settings at night.
Yep.
But you still got to get through all of this other vitriol to get to that. So I need to see Dovetail actually give us the forum or the format that we need to be using to give them the information they need to bring this to the next level. Because whether they like it or not, they're behind the 8 ball on this. As Sergio mentioned, they've only gotten a short period of time to figure out how this whole code works, how to implement it in 64-bit environment, and basically create what is essentially the blueprint for the flight sim that we want.
Yes. Yep.
Now comes the hard part. And this is where, a lot of the gloves are going to come off, and we're going to be a lot less gentle with Dovetail because we want to see them make some progress, So this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah, you're right. Getting that clear path of communication is going to be absolutely vital to them. And I know that having done beta testing in the past before, I know where successful beta testing is when you have that clear line of communication. Unsuccessful beta testing and eventually leading to failed product is when those lines are blurred. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Right. There you go. Cool. That's my major concern right now. Everything else, it's all subject to change. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah. I just need to know that, number one, they're going to be able to listen to us. And number two, they'll be able to implement things in a timely fashion. And number three, and probably the most important of which I'm going to wag my finger at Dovetail right now, They need to communicate frequently with us.
Yes.
None of this 6 months down the road, we still have no idea what the heck is going on.
Yep.
We need to know, and we need to know often where we are. Don't do that.
Tristan, can you please do us a favor, and when you are editing this video, just pop up the
I'm going to try my best to do that because I need to have this giant finger wagging on the screen. All right.
This is going to give Dovetail games some nightmares,
Oh my god. Okay.
That's how you can tell you're a father, when you have that face.
I was gonna say you have that face and that finger wag. Oh dear. Okay, I don't even know how to follow that.
Hey, we did say this is grumpy old men. It doesn't get
this,
much
this is
that.
true. This is true. We are three grumpy old flight simmers. Okay, so I guess that comes now to me for my final thoughts. So, pretty much encompassing what you guys have said, and what I've said in other platforms, and what I think we've all said on other platforms so far as well, is the fact that this is an evolution of existing technology in the same way that FS 2002 was an evolution of FS 2000. FS9 was an evolution of FS 2002, and FSX was an evolution of FS9. At the end of the day, guys, this is all an evolution. And this is a big deal for a company to actually take on the mantle and responsibility to actually bring us the next iteration. We've been spoilt a little bit by X-Plane and by Lockheed Martin, but the fact is that Dovetail are doing something new and different. They're taking something that's a bit older, but they are doing new and exciting things with it. They've acknowledged that parts of the old stuff they're throwing away. So they're throwing away the helicopter physics and the dynamics, and they're writing new stuff and coding new stuff from the ground up. They're recognizing that doesn't work. They're taking their time and making their commitments by going, okay, are we just going to put some half-assed jetliner in there the tube liner that doesn't really work properly in there at the start, or are we going to take our time and actually do, and Sergio, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe even the helicopter pilots still start in general aviation fixed wing at some point. So, this is where all pilots start. You cannot point to me to a single fighter jock or a single tube liner pilot and say, you have never touched the controls of a GA aircraft. I'm sorry, they have. That's how they learnt to fly. So, I think it's a great way that they're starting with this, and I'm really am impressed that they're doing what they're doing. But
where is the Cessna 172?
But isn't that the beauty of it, though? The fact that we actually have a modern training aircraft. Admittedly, I was a bit perplexed by that too, because the Cessna 172s are still common. But then again, I looked at my local flying school. There is no Cessna 172 or 152 or 180 or 182. They're not there. They're not there anymore. Instead, they're these new platforms. There's 2 Diamond DA40s. And I went, oh. So, flight training has evolved. So funnily enough, so have simulators. So yes, okay, it's a bit of nostalgia that we don't get. If anybody thinks that we're not going to get a flight sim world with a Cessna 172 in it, I'm pretty sure that we can put money on it that we will see one eventually. Yeah. But I'm okay with it not being there at the start. I'm okay with that. But again, as I said, we need to hold Dovetail responsible for their commitment to us and to do the development of Flight Sim World. But we also need to hold each other accountable to how we engage with Dovetail. So yes, absolutely, we need a clear line of communication, and we need to hold them accountable, but we need to do it in a constructive manner. If we start just bitching, whinging, and moaning, and just whining all the time, then they're going to stop listening to us. And that's not what we want. We want to get the sim that we all want at the end of the day. And I'm reminded of saying here, and I think it was Kennedy that said that, you can please some people all of the time, or you can please everyone some of the time. I personally hope we go for please everybody some of the time. Because, going back to what we've all said before, simulation is what we all make of it. It's what we want it to be. So I think that's something that's very important we all need to remember. So.
And Tristan, there's something that we also need to mention that they're doing something very brave. Designing a product by committee, by having a lot of people inputting, it's not easy because we're going to have a lot of different perspectives and people wanting different things. So even this path that they are taking of allowing us to try their software and providing input and ideas, even this path alone, it's something that we should be first of all, we should be very happy that they're doing. And second of all, we should be very proud and congratulate them for the courage of doing it, because this is not easy. Right. They are going to have a bunch of guys, thousands of people all over the world telling them what they want and what they don't want, and they have to filter that, and they want to try and adjust it so that, like you said, they can please a lot of people, at least for some of the time or something like that. I don't know. It's very early here, so
exactly. Cool.
Yeah. So even the path that they're following, even the development path they're following, it's not easy. And also we need to remind that not even Microsoft wanted to develop this product anymore. Okay.
Right.
They quit. They stopped it. They just said, we're done with it. That let's just and now these guys grabbed it and they're doing something out of it, and they're doing something with us, which is extra harder. So, kudos to them.
Yeah, I mean, look at funny enough, as my final sort of closing remark, we were talking about engaging and talking about designing things by committee and engaging with communities. Yeah, so and. Sergio, you made the comparison of people comparing Flight Sim World and FSX to P3D. Yeah, how much community engagement does Lockheed Martin do? The answer's not a lot. It really doesn't. So there you go. All right, folks, we are going to wrap this up.
This is the first time we're going to see them at Flight SimCon this year to tell you.
Yes.
You need to know
exactly.
About Lockheed Martin.
It does.
I've seen more Lockheed Martin in the last week at the air show here in Pittsburgh.
Alrighty, folks, we are going to wrap this one up. So thank you very much for joining us on this inaugural episode of Three Grumpy Flight Simmers. It has been an absolute pleasure. It has been a nightmare to organise a time where we can all do this, but that's okay, we got there. Folks, I hope you've all got something out of our discussions today. I really do. We look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and look forward to your feedback and constructive feedback, both to Dovetail Games for their Flight Sim World and to us, because, we're YouTubers. This is what we do. Anyway, alright folks, well, that's going to be me wrapping up. So I want to say thank you very much to Sergio.
Yeah, sure thing. We'll see next time. It seems like a threat to me when he said it was inaugural one, so it looks like we're going to do this quite often.
Yeah, we'll do so. And thank you very much to Mr. Purple Hat Bel Geode. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and ciao.
Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget as always to head over to helisimmer.com to get some of your helicopter and other simulation news. Don't forget to head over to Bel Geode's channel. I'll put his details down in the links in the description down below. And of course, as always, don't forget to subscribe, like the video here on my channel as well. So thank you very much. Alright folks, take care. Thanks for joining us. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Ciao.